Hello and welcome to this video on USMLE Step 2, a step-by-step guidance, pun intended. My name is Dr. Wahab Fazal. I'm the younger brother of Vakas who usually runs this channel. I think a lot of you were requesting him to make this video for the USMLE Step exams. Therefore, he requested me and here we are. So let's get into it without further ado. So this is what I call the USMLE building. The USMLE building has three distinct parts: the framework or the base, the middle part, and then the top, the terrace. And let's look at each one of these, the USMLE building. The framework or the base is your essential knowledge of basic sciences, your ability to make a diagnosis, inherently the medical knowledge that you gain during the first few years of medical school. And my juniors and students, they come up to me and ask me that, what amount of medical knowledge or what amount of knowledge you have to go into the second part of this building, which is the question bank. If you have passed the first 2-3 years of medical school, you have all the knowledge you need to go into the question bank. And therefore, you should start the question bank, UWorld or AMBOSS. I've underlined UWorld because most students and almost everyone that I know, including myself, did UWorld as a part of their prep for both Step 1 and Step 2. And if you look at this building applies also to Step 1 as well. And the top part of this building will be the NBME questions, which include the self-assessments, also just known as the NBMEs, the clinical mastery forms, which are extremely important for Step 2 because they're essentially based on a similar pattern as the exam is. And then the ethics, the quality improvement protocols, and I've repeated this again, sorry for that mistake. And let's get into the video. So I've structured this video in a way that in the first, I list down all of the questions and the misconceptions that my juniors and students, they actually come up to me with. So the first question is, which resources should I use? When do I start UWorld? My UWorld scores are not good. When should I take my NBMEs or the self-assessments? Am I ready for the exam? Should I take the exam now? So let's get, and if you notice in the lower left corner of this video, I will focus, I'll put the USMLE building here and also where I'm targeting the slides right now. So let's look at the base or the framework, the essential knowledge you need to get started with UWorld. So which resources? A simple answer to this question is find out what works for you. If something works for someone else, if something works for me, doesn't mean it necessarily works for you. For example, Sketchy is an amazing resource that has always worked for me. Even when I thought, maybe this is not something that I should do, Sketchy has worked amazingly well for me. So maybe you should try out the different resources, see what kind of resources you like at a particular moment. And what has happened to me that at a particular moment I have fallen in love with a particular resource, and then later on I have found myself not liking it so much for example, a specific topic. So just to list down all of the resources, here are the ones that maybe I used at some point during my Step 1 or Step 2, and I'll explain it through. So first aid I did use for my Step 1 a lot actually, and I don't particularly like the first aid Step 2 book, so I did not use it. Even in my Step 2 when I had to read first aid, I would actually just read the Step 1 first aid, and for the clinical management I would go to some other resource. So I've not put any stars in front of first aid. Boards and beyond I used for my Step 1. I did not use boards and beyond for my Step 2, so I've not put any stars in front of it. Sketchy, I absolutely love Sketchy. I used it for my Step 1 as well as Step 2, so I've put 3 stars in front of it. Online MedEd, I like online MedEd. I've used it for my Step 2 in particular. A lot of people say that it's outdated now, considering that Step 2 resources need to be updated from time to time because it's clinical management and the management guidelines also change. I think just this channel, my brother's channel, is a very excellent resource of different clinical management guidelines for the USMLE videos. I forgot to write it here, but I would give it like at least 3 stars for the amount of how much I used it for the management. Then AMBOSS, 4 stars. I use the AMBOSS library quite a bit. Therefore, I gave it 4 stars, even more than Sketchy and Online MedEd. I think those resources are updated on a regular basis, along with the clinical management guidelines. Then Anki, I absolutely love Anki. Anki has been a great source of help for me since my first year of med school. I did it during my first year of med school, during my second year of med school. Then I left it for some time because I was just annoyed with the flashcards for a bit. But for my step one exam, I had to resume Anki. And then for my step two, it became my gospel. If you use Anki, you know that you can go into the browse feature, and if you have the Anking deck installed, you can just search up whatever you want. And that deck is absolutely beautiful. It has knowledge, it has information, almost everything. Even when I'm in my wards, when I'm in my rotations and I need to search something up really quickly, I would just open my phone, go into Anki, and just go into browse and search a particular topic that I knew that my attending was going to ask me. So Anki is absolutely 5 stars for step 2 prep. And then the last bit, UWorld, I would give it 4 stars uh, because I think it's a great resource to learn. But particularly, I think Anki was a greater help for step 2 than anything else. And now, if you want me to make a video of how I used Anki for my step preparation, then you can write down in the comment section, and then I'd love to help you in that. So with the next question, when should I start UWorld? Right now. Right now is the time you actually, if you've passed the first few years of medical school, odds are you know enough information to actually get started with UWorld. Start with UWorld step 2. Don't make the same mistake as so many other people do. I don't know what people like to save up their UWorld for. I do not understand it. I made the same mistake, and I think it's a grave mistake. Do not make it. Start UWorld right now. If you're done with your step 1, if you're done with your I don't know, vacation time or free time or whatever you wanted to take some time out for, go into UWorld again. It's a learning resource. It's not a testing resource. Use it like a learning resource. I got horrible scores in my UWorld for a long time, but it does not matter. Use it like a learning resource. If you go on their website and you read what they've written, so basically it says that they make really hard concepts easy to understand, and that's the whole point of UWorld, which brings us to our next question. My scores are bad. Well, if your scores are bad, please keep at it. It's okay. You can keep at it and try to learn, try to imbibe as much as you can. All of the information that you get, try to remember as much as you can. And go back to your initial framework resource. Those are the resources that I listed down in the previous slides. Go back to those resources and maybe study a bit more on those particular topics that you're forgetting. Then the next question, Wahab bro, I think I'm forgetting your word. That's a big problem, and that's a problem that I think all of us that have prepared for step 1 and step 2 have faced at some point. So here are the strategies that I particularly use. You can use whatever strategy that works for you. These are the ones that I used. So first of all, you need to chill. It's okay. Everyone forgets UWorld. You don't need to remember everything. These are the strategies that I used. I used personalized Anki, meaning for the topics that I think I was not very good at, I would make Anki cards, or I would just use the Anking deck for those particular topics. I didn't make as much Anki cards. I think for a lot of people that helps a lot. Even for Vakas, I think he makes flashcards himself and he really likes it. And then you can write the main learning point from your questions. This is something that I did. So I'm going to tell you how I did it. I used to write the 2-line or 1-line learning point from my questions, explanations in particular. So how this works is, and we're on the second part of the building, which is the question bank. How this works is, for example, whatever question I read, whatever resource I read, this is the main crux. This is in a nutshell, in 1 line or 2 lines. If you had to write the whole thing, what would you write? So this is what I wrote. You can pause the video and you can read all of the comments. I will just read 1 or 2. So a single vertebral fracture in a patient with blunt trauma is an indication to image the entire spine. Just that. You don't need, I didn't write anything else because I know I can't read a lot of information in my last few days of the exams. So I just wrote this. And even sometimes, for example, and if we read the third example, serotonin receptor antagonists are considered first-line treatments for chemotherapy-induced nausea. Just that. And if I had to read something, I would go back to whatever resource that I was using, first aid or sketchy, whatever resource, or Anki, whatever resource I was using, and read up on that topic again. Then I would make a separate if you can make these notebooks in the UWorld notebook now, I would make a separate example of this. I would write the presentation in a particular question. For example, if we read both of these questions, young athlete presents with worsening back pain with flexion and improves with extension. You think I wrote this for myself. So I want myself to think spondylolysis, and this is the management. I want myself to give an X-ray and bed rest for 90 days. Let's read the next question too, so you understand. I made these two separate notebooks. One, I wrote the main pointers, and then if there was a very particular pathognomonic presentation that I wanted to remember, for example, a young female that presents with a butterfly rash on her cheeks in her 30s, is an African-American lady, so you want to think lupus, right? So you want to think lupus or lupus pernio, and or basically any autoimmune disease that could cause this because the lady is in her 30s. So that kind of thing. So young lady after a stressor or taking P450 inducers, and you can read the rest of this question. Think acute intermittent porphyria, give glucose plus heme. You can read the rest of these questions. So this is basically my strategy to remember UWorld. You can use, or if you just go on Reddit, you'll find hundreds of strategies that people have used. So let's get into the next question, which is, when should I do an NBME? Depends on your timeline. What timeline? So essentially, if you're done with your step one, you don't need more than 5 to 6 months for step two. I gave my step two during my med school. So I had med school rotations going on. I had very less time in the evenings. I would just start in the evening, and it was a very stressful time in my life. But essentially, 5 to 6 months or 7 months, or you can do it even less in like 2 to 3 months or 4 months if you just do UWorld and focused resources. And this is what I would suggest. This is what I suggest to a lot of people. When you're done with 50 to 60% of UWorld, do NBME 12. Because I think when I went on Reddit, I read that it was not as predictive as the other ones because you want to save the most predictive ones for the end. And this keeps changing. So maybe you can go on Reddit and find out the least predictive one. And you want to do it at 50 to 60% UWorld just to find out where you're standing. Some people even do NBMEs when they start their prep. You want to complete UWorld. A lot of people don't. Even I did it. I didn't absolutely complete UWorld. I went through at least like 90% of UWorld, and then I left it because I had to complete other resources. But you want to get a good number of percentage into UWorld. And I did UWorld incorrects. You don't have to do UWorld incorrects, but if you think your score, your UWorld percentage is not improving, you can do UWorld incorrects. Then the next question, which is, I can't increase my NBME scores. This is towards the end of your preparation when you're giving those NBMEs and the score and the date is looming over your head. So I can't increase my NBME scores, stuck in a rut. And this is an option. If you want to skip this, you can skip this. So this is what happened to me. I was stuck in a rut. I was not getting a very good score on my NBMEs, particularly not what I wanted to get. So this is what I did. I did a quick run through of my AMBOSS study plans. I had AMBOSS institutional license, and I think it did wonders for me. And by a quick run through, I mean, I did almost like 70% of AMBOSS in 20 days. I was extremely stressed out. I was doing 160 to 200 questions a day, 4 to 5 blocks. And what that ended up doing was, I was really ready for these questions. I would just go to a question. I would read 60-year-old lady presenting with back pain. This is 60-year-old man, let's say 60-year-old man presenting with back pain, has some urinary issue. You think prostate cancer, because I did not have enough time to do that many questions in a day. So I was doing questions really, really fast. So this helps you find your weakness. If you do a quick run through of AMBOSS study plans, I did the whole AMBOSS study plan, which included all the questions. That's what I mean. And I did as many questions as possible. And this is after my UWorld prep. And I think this really helped me. I did almost 75% of AMBOSS in 20 days, as I said before. And I think this helped me more than anything else that I could do. And this really improved my NBME score as well. Last 4 weeks, what to do? Just do this is what I suggest. You don't have to follow it completely. In the last few days, you want to do the NBME made self-assessments. The NBME made free 120s, and the free 120 is available freely. The NBMEs you would have to buy, and the CMS forms. I would suggest that you do all the available CMS forms. I know it can get expensive, but I think it would really help you get a good score. So you want to do all available CMS forms because these are the questions that your examiners made. And in the last few days, you want to program yourself in a very NBME ways, very NBME. I also watched Melman videos because Melman makes a lot of videos based on NBMEs. Um, a lot of people don't. I did. I think they helped me a lot. So shout out to Melman for his videos. But essentially you want to do mostly NBME stuff in your last 3 to 4 weeks. You want to do NBMEs, you want to do the free 120. I think there are some old ones available on the internet now as well. And you want to do all available CMS forms. And these will help you a lot. Basically tune into the style of questions of how the National Board of Medical Examiners asks them. And they might be a little different from UWorld and AMBOSS. That's why I want to keep you just for NBME questions. And then this is very, very important and highly ignored. So many times, my juniors, my students, they come up to me and they say that I have left ethics, I have maybe left biostats, I have left QIP or quality improvement protocols. And that's the worst mistake that you could do. The exam is highly focused on these three particular concepts, these three particular topics. You have to study them and you have to study them in utmost detail. That's why the next few slides, I focused on each one of these resources. Listen to me, if you want to get a good score, you need to focus on ethics, on biostats, on quality improvement protocol. Particularly biostats, you need to be, when you're out of the exam, you need to be sure, I don't know whatever questions I got right. When you're out of the exam, you don't know which questions you got right, right? When I was out of my exam, I honestly did not know what I did. I thought I did horrible. Gratefully I got a good score, more than I wanted. So I'm absolutely happy with my score. But the only questions that I was sure about was biostats. So you want to make sure that you're getting absolutely every single biostats question right. Ethics, you want to study as much as possible. For ethics, I use UWorld. Okay, let's go into resources one by one. So last 4 weeks, focus on NBME topics. For example, vaccinations, PEDS milestones, biochemistry. So what I mean by NBME topics are the topics that are being tested in the self-assessments. And you'll find this on 10 to, these are really high yield topics that you want to study. For example, vaccination, PEDS milestones, and biochemistry. I hate studying biochemistry. Thankfully, I gave my step one at a time where it was pass and fail. I hate studying biochemistry, but I'll list down all of the resources. For biochemistry, honestly, I only just use Dirty Medicine. I only just use Dirty Medicine. Dirty Medicine videos, and I just did all of the questions from UWorld, from AMBOSS, and then RX. This is honestly what I did for biochemistry. I did not do anything else. And I did the same for my step one as well. For step one, shout out to Dirty for his amazing videos. I'll put a link down in the description for Dirty and whoever else I mentioned before. But his biochemistry videos are absolutely amazing. Just watch those. And this is a pro tip. This is something that I use. You make a list of the tough topics. These are topics that bug you. You want to keep making a list of them so you don't have this in the back of your head that maybe I don't know a lot of topics. You have an exact list of topics that keep bothering you. For me, a lot of them were these basically: vaccination, PEDS milestone, and it was a huge list for me. So the next question, which is Wahab bro, what to do about biostats, ethics, and quality improvement protocols? For ethics, this is what I did. I used UWorld a lot. I did all of the UWorld questions in the end again. I used Dirty Medicine a lot. I really recommend Dirty Medicine, both for step one and step two. I absolutely love Dirty's work. And then Anki, again, excellent resource, amazing resource. And there are focused Anki decks also available. I think I'll have to make a video for Anki in particular. And the way I'm not an Anki expert, but I'll tell you the things that I use and that helped me a lot. And then RX, I used it in the bit towards the end for particularly ethics. Amboss QBank, amazing, 3 stars. And the library. So what you want to do is if there's a Reddit post and an amazing person has listed down all of the articles that you need to read before your exam. You need to not just read, you need to take in these articles. You need to remember these ethics articles. And the same works for the other topics that I've talked about, the biostats and the QIP as well. You want to remember these topics because they will test you in the USMLE exam. Let's go towards QIP. Again, UWorld, Anki, Amboss Library, and QBank. And I cannot even stress, I've been harping about this for the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes now, but this is supremely high yield, supremely high yield. So for Biostats and Epi, I honestly just did UWorld, Anki, and Amboss QBank 4 stars because Amboss QBank is pretty hard for Biostats and Epi. And then the library, I didn't use it as much, but I did use it. It was 3 stars. Remember, for particularly Biostats, Ethics, QIP, remember the Amboss articles. And honestly, don't worry a lot about the drug questions. People, I've seen a lot of students that they're very worried about the drug ad questions because the UWord and the Amboss drug ad questions are extremely hard. They're extremely difficult. Uh, in the end, in the exam, it's going to be like 1 or 2 questions. And there's a lot else that you actually need to prepare. So I'm not saying that leave your prep for the drug ad questions. And this is what Melman said. I actually listened to him before, and he said this as well, people to ask people to stop worrying about the drug ad questions as much. Do the prep that you need to do the UWord questions, do the Amboss questions, but then just stop worrying about it. It's going to be okay. Just chill. Now, this is a part of the video that maybe you can watch at a later point, or maybe you're at this part of your prep and you wanna know about this question. Honestly, so many people come up to me and they ask me this question, and you'll never be completely ready. There will never be a time when you feel you know everything. There's the resources, the amount of knowledge that you need to have. I don't know if you need that, the amount of knowledge that you think you need to have is absolutely huge, because just the amount of medical knowledge in this world is a lot. So you'll never be completely ready. You'll never remember everything that you think you want to remember. You want to believe in yourself at this point. You should believe in yourself at this point. You have put in a lot of effort, and therefore you need to believe in the amount of effort that you've put in. At this point, if you have done UWord for step 1, you have done UWord for step 2, if you combine just these 2 resources, that in itself comes up to be almost 7,000 questions. If you include the NBME self-assessments, that comes up to be almost maybe 8,000 questions. And if you include them for the step 2 as well, these are 9,000 questions. And then if you include the Amboss self-assessments, the UWord, the UWSs, which are the UWord self-assessments. So the amount of questions that you have actually done is somewhere around 10,000 maybe. If you have done Amboss, then it's even more than 10,000. So at this point, answering questions is like second nature to you. When you're going to sit in the exam, uh, your brain is going to work because it's been programmed to work this way, because you have done this tens of thousands of times. So believe in yourself, because you've got this. And set yourself, and this is the next question. For this prep, when you want to ask yourself this question, am I ready? This is the question that you should ask. What are you missing out for this prep? Because a lot of people are losing a lot of things for their USMLE preparation. They're losing out quality time with their family, with their partners. I don't know, things that they're losing out on quality time in their undergrad and their medical school. Maybe some people have graduated and they're doing this after their medical school. They're losing a lot of quality time. So what are you missing out during this prep? I know I had to miss out on some things with my family, with my people, just for my step 2 preparation. And at some point I had to let go, and I was like, I need to get done with this, because I have to get back to whatever in life, especially during my dedicated, I was miserable, and I had to get back to life. And therefore I made this decision. And then set yourself a decent target. For example, I set myself the target that I want to get at least 250 plus score. And in the end, I ended up getting a much better score. But basically, you want to orient yourself, you want to set yourself a target, and then you give your NBME self-assessments, and that's how you judge yourself whether you're ready or not. Once you get a decent score, and I'm emphasizing on this, set yourself a decent target. I have helped some people. Someone just recently, they came up to me and they asked me this question, that if am I ready? And I asked them to set themselves a decent target, and and leave the rest and believe in themselves. And in fact, they ended up getting a 275 plus score. I'm not going to say the exact score, but they ended up getting a 275 plus score, and they set themselves the target of 260 plus. And that was an amazing person. That was an amazingly smart person who was scoring straight A's, who were scoring amazing scores in their med school at the top of their class. And we sat down and we set the target of somewhere around 260 or 255 plus. So set yourself a very decent target and then go for it. Believe in yourself and read this slide again. And when you're done with your prep, you want to come back and listen to this part of this video again. This is the cherry on top. If you look at the building and there was a cherry on top that I talked about, this is the cherry on top part of the building. So it has been a long journey. The step preparation, the step exams are a long and hectic journey. They're not easy. We know that. You want to take one step at a time. Again, pun intended, but also you want to take one step at a time. Think of this, when you're climbing a mountain, you don't look at the top when you're climbing. You take one step at a time. Maybe you peer at the top sometimes. You're like, maybe this is going to be a long and tiring journey. But if you keep looking at the top, you're never going to be able to climb the mountain. So you want to take one step at a time. And you want to keep your loved ones close. There's a lot that you might have to miss out on during particularly your dedicated prep. But you want to keep your loved ones close. You want to keep the people who matter to you really close to you, because it's really important to maintain your sanity, to be honest. And sometimes just go back to that clip of Dory saying to Nemo, or just keep swimming. You're getting bad UWorld scores. It's going to be okay. Just keep swimming. And this is what I did as well. I know it's funny. Just go and search it up. I'm going to put a link of that YouTube cartoon in the description as well. But just keep swimming. It's going to be okay. And keep your spirituality intact. Whatever religion you believe in, whatever spiritual concept you believe in, it's important, particularly when you're faced with such a difficult target, when you're faced with such a difficult exam. You want to keep your spirituality intact, whatever you believe in, whatever helps you feel at calm. That might be yoga, that might be meditation. You want to keep that intact. So thank you. And again, one step at a time. Don't look at the top. Just look down, take your step, pun intended. And I'm going to make biostats and epidemiology videos, and I'm going to put the link for my channel down in the description. Thank you so much for watching.